Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest narration, the web series History of the Soul War. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Lecture 8, Humans are Vengeful. The lecturer watched his class. More and more of them were using personal and custom datapads. A few even had physical writing equipment. He resisted the urge to show his joy. It wasn't much, but at least he could open a few eyes. "I will start today's lecture with a recording," he said, and pressed a small button on the lectern. On the screen behind him, an image of a Federation base on Earth appeared, showing Federation troopers running about. The air shook with what at first seemed to be thunder. The noise continued on the echoing roar of what the class identified as continued, ongoing explosions. It was as if someone was launching an orbital strike. The base itself was about the same size as a small town, clearly one of the main centers of the operation. "Commander, a message from Fleet Command. There are no human ships in orbit," a voice was clearly recorded from elsewhere. "What do you mean, no ships in orbit? There is an orbital strike. There is nothing else it could be," a somewhat stressed voice said, clearly the commander. "The Fleet Command have double-checked the scanners. No orbital disturbances. Nothing that would indicate satellite strikes or stealth vessel, even if the humans did have those." "Then what is the name of the council, is it? Some kind of aircraft?" This was followed by the sounds of nervous shuffling. "Our anti-air systems have reported nothing that could indicate an aircraft." There was a pause, one far too long to be anything good. "Then what, in the name of the Firstborn, is pushing our shields to their limits?" The commander exploded at whoever was reporting him. "You know what? I don't care. Get it out there and find out how long it is going to last." "Yes, sir." The recording cut. "In the final years of the Soul War, when the Federation fleet was forced to retreat from Earth, at the same time humanity launched what appeared to be a desperate attack on our ground forces. What we were unaware of was just quite what we were facing. Humanity refused to allow us any chance to recover our groundside troops. They refused all contact whatsoever. Every attempt was met with silence, or promises of making us pay the blood debt we owed them. This recording is taken from a few Federation outposts that was capable of withstanding the assault for more than a few weeks." He paused. "It was in this year or so humanity unleashed every weapon in its forbidden arsenal. We faced chemical weapons that ate through atmospheric sealed suits and melted flesh. Technological devices that could take control of a creature's nervous system and turn them into nothing more than puppets for the humans. Flame-based weapons, nuclear devices of all shapes and sizes, large arrays that could direct enough radiation to boil any creature's vital fluids. The humans waged war we had never seen before. They had weapons that were so unfathomably horrific that large portions of our forces retreated to Federation strongholds. And even then, we faced the abominations humans had made. Biological weapons that ravaged anything with non-Terran DNA. The worsts were the cookie cutters, or as the humans called them, the pulpers." He clicked on to the next slide. It was a strange device that looked like a little bit like a medical pill. Two clear halves, however, it was covered in tiny spheres. "This is a cookie cutter. They are small enough to be absorbed into the bloodstream through most mucous membranes, or even just punching through the skin at high enough velocities. The humans would deliver them through all kinds of methods, bullets, gas grenades, even artillery shells. Ah, yes, human artillery. We will get to that in a moment. Anyway, these devices, once in the bloodstream, would wait for a period of time. The period of time seemed to be random, or human-controlled. However, whenever one in the body went off, the rest would always go off as well. Once in the bloodstream, they would circulate all over the body. Then, he clicked the button, and an image started to animate. The top half of the structure rotated one way, and the other spun in a counter-rotation, accelerating to high speeds before all the ball bearings were released and flew outwards, and the top and bottom halves also broke apart and flew away. The metal balls would perforate soft tissue, organs and the like, often eyes and sections of the brain as well, turning whoever suffered them into a bag of pulp, as the humans termed it. And think about it. You were in a shuttle, safe and clear from a firefight, glad to have survived. Then there's a soft whizzing noise. and your buddy across from you slumps down, eyes turned to paste and leaking from their sockets. Suddenly, the entire shuttle is asking themselves if they are next or if they are safe. Panic, paranoia, and fear. The next slide was pulled up. A strange weapon. It looked like an oversized rocket tube, except it was angled on its side. The humans' use of chemical-propelled kinetic weapons has led to the development of military technology in a strange direction. Despite clearly developing beyond such basic and unreliable methods as is shown by their orbital fleet, they still make use of them. This is called artillery. The humans use it to hurl huge chunks of metal at foes over insane distances. Originally, they were just solid lumps of metal when first developed as cannons. However, in a modern era, the payloads can vary and carry anything from high explosives to chemical weapons. The noise that was heard in the background was called the artillery barrage by the humans. It is where they take an array of several dozen of these artillery guns and continually shell a location. The humans pummeled the shield for 5 solar cycles straight before the reserve power of the base was sabotaged, at which point they continued to fire on the base for 3 more cycles after that, even deploying several owl-delivered projectiles. Luckily, none contained nuclear weapons. Yes, the humans unleashed firepower comparable to an orbital strike for 7 full cycles. This, however, was not the full extent of the human intention. He pressed the button and the recording started to play once more. Commander, our audio receptors are picking something up. It was the same voice as before, quite likely the commander's adjutant.
Well, hurry up and play it then,
the commander responded. There was a pause. Then a noise could be heard, and more precisely several noises. The first and clearest was a deep rumbling growl, clearly coming from several different sources. Underneath this, there was another layer of noise, rising and falling to some kind of unknown pattern, punctuated with a human voice.
What are they saying?
The commander asked. It appears to be some kind of human war song. They are singing about fighting foes, shattering armor, fighting until they cease to be sane, asking how many foes they can kill and fighting till nothing is left alive. The commander's aide sounded a little shaken.
But they don't know that we can hear them. This is for their own morale and not an attempt to break ours. Why aren't they singing about glorious victory?
The commander asked. The Federation used similar tactics, singing songs about glorious victory and the spoils of war to inspire troops. They don't seem to care, sir. They don't care about winning. They only care about killing us, sir. The recording clicked off. The lecturer resumed. This recording was taken a few hours before the artillery barrage ceased. The Federation were not aware that the artillery strikes were not the actual attack, but what the humans call softening the target. The noise that you could hear over the human music was a human petrochemical engine. He clicked onto the next slide. This was an image of a massive war machine, several meters tall, at 15 meters long and 4 or 5 meters wide. It seemed to move by way of linked tracks on either side. Mounted on its main body was a pair of titanic weapons, clearly more human kinetic projectile weapons. It had more weapons scattered across its body, smaller kinetic projectile weapons, explosive launchers, and even a few clearly stolen Federation weapons mounted on some kind of turret. This is a human tank, a mechanized land vehicle made for combat, plated in armor and carrying reverse-engineered Federation shield technology. Its primary weapon is the large turret atop it. It fires pretty much any munitions the humans want it to. Capable of rotating at almost any angle, the weapon is mostly used to engage hard targets. The several smaller weapons, such as the ones mounted atop the turret and the explosive launchers, are used on personnel. The humans who drive these vehicles often tend to play music when engaging in open combat. In this case, the humans were all playing the same song. When functioning independently, they often play whatever they like. The following recording was taken from the base a few moments after what the humans define as an entire division of tanks rolled into the base at the same time as the Federation forces were emerging from their defensive structures at the end of the barrage. He clicked on the recording, and what sounded like pure chaos came through the speakers. The first thing the students identified was gunfire and screams, then the grinding of metal over stone, and finally, human music. Different songs at rising and falling volumes as the human military vehicles moved about. On the video, all was smoke and gunfire. The only things that told the students what was going on were bursts of light from plasma fire or huge orange flashes from the human explosives. Through the gates of hell, as we make our way to heaven, were the first lines that could be heard as the tank rolled right past whatever was recording the video. After a few seconds, it became clear there was some kind of scout drone that had been disabled but was still transmitting. "You've been thunderstruck," before the crunching noise of the video tilted sideways as another tank appeared to roll over its position. "Master of War," echoed as a vision of a drone went dark for a moment as a tank drove over it and away into the smoke. More screams and explosions as the drone was tossed across the area, giving a spinning, dizzying view of the area. Bodies scattered everywhere, some clearly crushed under the treads of the tanks. A thud as the drone landed. Out of the smoke, another large tank emerged and rolled right towards the drone, looming over it. "Take a look at the sky before you die. It's the last time you will." The recording cut out with a violent crunch as the drone was flattened under the treads of a tank. The lecturer returned the images to the three-dimensional rotating image of the tank. "That is what the humans' mechanized assault looked like, and sounds like, at least in the case of tanks. Humans have several other mechanized assault methods, which we may cover at some point in the future. However, as you can see, this is a level of violence and destruction the humans unleashed upon our ground forces." He stopped to change slides, skipping over the recording just played to get to the next slide. It appeared that now the Federation ground forces were not going to be receiving reinforcements, and retreating meant suffering the wrath of the Four Horsemen. The humans knew that their only option was to defeat all Federation bases. The larger locations, command centers, and supply depots were crushed, much like shown here. The humans turned every weapon they had ever built loose upon Federation troops. Before the actions of the rogue elements, the humans offered the option of surrender. And surrendering meant that you would simply be put in an area where you could do no harm, then treated like a guest till the war was over. This time, surrender was never an option. You could try, but the humans would ignore you, either killing you all the same, or leaving you in their midst of devastation that they had now wrought in the ashes of your erstwhile comrades. Some humans called it turnabout, or returning the favor. Others termed it making the feds pay the price, or collecting on the debts of the dead. No matter what the humans called it was clear that they were out for vengeance. The Federation troops that survived, barely, or were captured towards the end called it the Year of Hell, and some even still suffer PTSD to this day. He paused and glanced at his notes. It is surprising, however, that the troops that had been captured prior to this were not harmed, nor were they even informed. Once the war was officially over, they were loaded aboard a human cargo vessel and dropped off on the edge of Federation space with an emergency beacon active for the Federation forces to identify. It is shocking just how compassionate humans can be, even while incited to such rage that they'll draw upon the darkest and most foul creations they have ever made. He turned the lights back up and looked at the class. That is all for today. Next lecture, I expect to see your rewritten drafts and at least a few references or research links. Please email them to me via extranet. Class dismissed.
I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Sevaren Serberous, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Casper Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon W.R.E, and Sevaren Serberous. Thank you very much.